Have you ever felt overwhelmed by the chaos of your daily life? What if we tell you that the skills used to manage big projects can also bring order to your personal life? My name is Zenah Hamadan, Project Management Leader and Director of Educations and Projects at PMI Malta Chapter. Together with my colleague Livia and Keith, we want to share with you how project management skills have played a crucial role in our personal life. Keith, Livia, welcome to this podcast. Livia, I'll leave it to you. Please share with us who you are and what is your story.
Thank you, Zenah. My name is Livia Massa, and I'm the Secretary General of the PMI Malta chapter. And recently, I embarked on one of the biggest projects of my life, buying and renovating my dream house. So the story isn't just about turning an old house into a cozy home. It's about how project management skills can help you navigate through real-life challenges. So let's dive in. It all started with a dream of owning a piece of history and having a welcoming place to live in. But let me tell you, finding the perfect house was no small feat. This is where the first project management principle came into play: scope definition. I had to define what I wanted. Did I want a traditional townhouse with character? Or did I want a modern flat with a sea view? What was my budget? How much renovation was I willing to take on? It was also important to take into account additional budget for lesser known costs, such as the notary fee, property tax, and surveyor fees. In project management, we call this the project scope. We outline the goals, the deliverables, and the parameters within which we'd work. So for my house hunt, this meant narrowing down locations, setting a budget, and also deciding on any non-negotiables, like having beautiful Maltese tiles or a small terrace for a morning coffee. After months and months of searching and countless viewings, I finally found it. A lovely pre-1960s home in a quiet village with a ton of natural light and a small garden. This house was old, with a lot of character, but it needed a lot of work. And this brings me to the next step, actually buying the house. Now, buying a house in Malta comes with its own set of challenges and opportunities. And this is where stakeholder management and also due diligence were critical. First, I had to assemble a team. Now, I already had a real estate agent who showed me the property, but then I needed to find a notary to handle any legal aspects and a surveyor to assess the property's condition. Each of these stakeholders had a crucial role, and managing them was just like managing a project team. Now, one of the key steps in buying this process was conducting thorough due diligence. So in project management terms, it's a bit similar to a feasibility study. I had to make sure that the property had an actual title and also check whether there were any planning permissions required for renovations, and make sure that the house was actually structurally sound and didn't need any structural renovations. That would have also made sure that my budget would have stayed in check as well. So the notary took care of the legal checks, while the surveyor examined the building for any hidden issues, like any dampness or structural damage. This process was absolutely vital to make sure that I didn't have any unpleasant surprises later on. It's like if you're planning a project, if you don't do your research up front, you're just setting yourself up for trouble down the line. Now, finally, once everything checked out, it was time to negotiate the purchase price. This is where communication and negotiation skills came into play. I had to make sure that I could still get a good deal, but also make sure that the sellers were happy to proceed with the sale. And finally, after a 6-month promise of sale, the deal was done, the contracts were signed, and the house was finally mine. But that was just the beginning. The real work was about to start. Now, renovating a house in Malta is not for the faint-hearted. Here's where project planning really saved the day for me. Just like in any project, I needed a roadmap. So I broke this renovation into 3 phases: plumbing and electrical work, finishings, and finally, any interior design. Now, here's where time management is critical. I had to set milestones for myself. When should the plumbing be done? When should the walls be plastered? And when can I finally think about painting and furnishing? But just like in any project, there were obviously delays. Materials were late, the workers had other commitments or had illnesses, and unexpected problems cropped up everywhere. But this is where risk management comes into play. I had to make sure that any potential issues had a contingency plan in place. So what happens if the limestone walls were worse shape than expected? What happens if the tiles I picked out were out of stock? I needed a buffer in the budget as well, and also the timeline to make sure that I could handle these hiccups without derailing the entire project. But maybe the biggest lesson from this renovation was actually the importance of stakeholder communication. My stakeholders in this case were everybody from my local contractor, my suppliers, and even my neighbors who were curious about the ongoing work. So I had regular check-ins, clear communication of expectations, and quick decision-making, which helped keep the project moving forward. This experience has really reinforced what I've always believed. Project management isn't just for the office. It's a set of skills that can help you achieve your goals, whatever they might be. So whether you're launching a product or renovating a house, the principles are the same. Define your scope, plan meticulously, manage your risks, communicate clearly, and stay adaptable. So what's your next big project in your life? Whatever it is, remember you have the skills to make it happen. Thank you. Now, Keith, I leave it to you on your next topic.
So thank you very much, Livia. That was really, really interesting. I think it's something which is very, very connecting to everybody in the normal world. My topic revolves around something which is also very, very common to everybody. And first, and to start off with a brief introduction, hi, I'm Keith. I've been working in the financial industry for the past 20 years, and I am part of the PMI Malta chapter board. And the topic that I wish to share with you is how to have balance between work and your family life. This is not an easy task at all. So we all know the demands of both of these items can be very, very overwhelming. But without a clear strategy, you get stretched too thin and we start seeing cracks everywhere. So this is where you will notice that using your talents in project management will really help you deal with all these cracks and problems or stressful events in your life on a daily basis. First of all, the thing that you need to do is you need to plan. So let's talk about planning. This is one of the key principles of project management, to set or clear goals. For instance, each day it's important to define what you want to achieve, both in work and in your family life at home. This could mean completing a simple specific project task or spending some quality time with your family in the evening. Once you have your goals set clearly out in front of you, you then need to start prioritizing. A useful method here is the critical path method, which we can find, where you can prioritize and use the sequence of crucial tasks that need to complete in a reasonable time frame for your project in work or at home to stay on track. If you apply this towards your normal schedule, things will be simplified because you can only deal with one task at a time rather than having 20 tasks thrown at you at the same point in time. So when we speak about time, we also need to speak about time blocking. This can be a very good game changer because by allocating specific time periods of the day to different tasks, this will ensure that you can balance out work and family. From experience, this wasn't always the case, and it is not always possible, as we have to admit. There'll be some days at work where you need to work extra hours and put extra effort, or all-nighters. But if possible, always remember that allocating that little time towards your family at the end of it is worth it. So after you have your goals, objectives, you plan, you prioritize, and you set time, we have to actually go through the organization of these crucial tasks. And this, as in every project management principle, we normally have tools that help us. So project management tools keep us very, very informed and keep track of the projects and the tasks that we need to perform to stay or to manage to achieve our goals at the end of the project, end date, deadline, goals, live, call it what you want. Same thing like at home. At the end of it, you need to use these tools to help you. No, you don't need to have a complex project management tool to manage your life. That would be, I think, a bit over too much. But a simple to-do list, a Kanban board in your living room or in your fridge, where you can have tasks and daily routines, this will help you to actually go through all these tasks in your weekly routine schedule and delegate also, not just from a colleague point of view at work, but also from a family point of view. I myself have kids, and we use it as a chore list where we delegate tasks, which give them also um, understanding of responsibility, and also a chore does not need to be boring, but it could also be turned into a family activity. So just sharing responsibility with children or other family members, it is quality time. So let's take what we normally used to associate as a negative, as a chore when we were kids ourselves, to a positive in the new way of working. The next important thing is that we need to actually communicate these items, because me just putting things on a chore list will not get them done. Me just planning tasks on a project management tool will not get them done. Communication towards your stakeholders, being at work or within your own family, is key. And you also need to set clear expectations. Communication is not just about giving orders or giving directions, but setting expectations and also managing to have the other person on board your own task. But even with all this planning, this task listing and whatsoever, we always have to keep in mind that we need to be flexible and adaptable towards our life. The key to a happy life is reducing stress. And despite our best efforts, stress is always around the corner, knocking towards or disrupting our daily routine. So let's start, as in like we do in projects, and build some buffer time, even when it comes to family. Having that buffer time will allow you that if something slips or you have a slippage in your task or you have to work a bit later, you have that enough buffer time to actually have family time. This will help you because at the end of it, it's not productive to trying to complete a task, but at the same time, worry because you are late on picking up your kids, or because you have to go shopping, or because you have to go to the vet with the pets, or to take your kids to the doctor. These are daily routines. So having that little of buffer time and not planning every task exactly after each other will reduce the stress within your daily life. To conclude, I would like to say that using project management techniques in daily life isn't about striving for perfection. Instead, it is about finding harmony between work and family life by setting clear goals, staying organized, communicating effectively, and remaining flexible. We can create the balance that works for us and our loved ones. Remember, it's a continuous process of improvement. So keep refining your approach until you find what suits you. You will not get it perfect the first time, but you will. And with this, I would like to conclude and introduce Zenah with her next topic. So Zenah, I leave it up to you.
Thank you, Keith. And thank you, Livia, for sharing your insightful stories. Well, I think by now it's obvious that everyone uses project management skills in their personal life, often without even knowing it. So when I studied project management 12 years ago, I realized I've been using these skills long before becoming a project manager. I've been using these skills in my sport career. I've been using these skills in my career outside project management, but also in my daily life with the family, with planning vacation, planning life events, everything. But the experience that I want to share with you today is about my relocation to Malta at the age of 34. So as you all know, in today's world, people are not bound to borders. However, relocating to a new country is still a major life event that involves heavy planning. It involves risk management, organization, execution. It is a complex project. And similar to what you both shared, Keith and Livia, you need to tackle it as a project. It's easier to start tackling it in an organized way, and you start step by step using the skills that you know from business and from project management in your daily life. I remember starting the decision-making process the day I found a job vacancy in Malta that matched both my passion and qualifications. Back then, I was in the US, and similar to what I do in any project selection process, I drafted my objectives and I concluded the SWOT analysis for the two options I have. The first option was applying for a new job in the USA where I have family. And the second option was moving to Malta, an island that I knew little about at that time for the offer I received. As you can probably tell, the choice was far from obvious. However, comparing the outcome of the SWOT analysis with my personal objectives gave me a clear direction to make a decision that I've never regretted. I accepted the offer in Malta. Without having the SWOT analysis in hand, most people would say, well, you know the USA, you don't know Malta, you know there are good jobs in the USA, good organizations, so you just go by default. Using the project management skills, doing a proper analysis, comparing the SWOT analysis outcome to my objectives is what made me clarify what is best for me. So I went with the second option. Planning was the next critical step. Developing a realistic timeline meant considering every single detail. The visa application, work permit process, budgeting, logistics, finding housing, packaging, and finally the actual move. Similar to any other project, I had planned a lot and I had to add contingencies for the time and budget. Things like the visa or the work permit, you never know when the visa is issued. You have estimates, but you cannot tell the exact date. Similar for the work permit, you have to make some contingency.
Zenah, how did you mitigate for the unknown?
That's a very good question, Keith. Thank you for asking. Well, regardless how much research you do, moving to somewhere that you've never been, it's really risky. It's like stepping into the unknown. And that's where the risk management comes in. So again, I use the risk management techniques, approach. I planned risk responses. I thought of several risks back then. There's the job dissatisfaction, the cultural shock, the homesickness, isolation. And to manage these risks, I planned responses. I had plenty of what-if scenarios that ran in my mind, and I started planning some responses for the critical ones. So to give you an example, for the job, I asked lots of details during the recruitment process to ensure I fully understood the role I was stepping in. I realized that the probability of the job dissatisfaction is really low, so I accepted the risk. On the personal side, I made the conscious decision to integrate with the local community to mitigate the risk of isolation and homesickness. I knew that being part of the community is key. So here's what I did. First, as soon as I arrived on the island, I spent time learning about the culture and the history of Malta. And I was fascinated by the rich history and how much it resonated with my own background. That made it much easier. Second, I focused on building relationship with locals. So I limited my social circle to Maltese friends and didn't seek out expatriate community right away. In fact, it took me 3 years before I joined a foreign group of friends in Malta. Finally, I played and coached my favorite sport, basketball, which gave me the satisfaction of being part of a community that shared my interest and passion for a sport that shaped my personality from an early age. I even played for the team that represented Malta in Dublin Masters tournament a couple of years ago. So that was the story of my successful project, my personal relocation to Malta, that allowed me to create a fulfilling life in my second home, the beautiful island of Malta. With this, we shared our stories. Livia, Keith, thank you. For our audience, here are our stories on how we navigate life challenges using project management skills. So the next time you're faced with a big challenge in your personal life, remember, project management skills aren't just for workspace. They are tools that can help you manage your personal life events with confidence and clarity. Thank you from myself, Zenah, and my colleagues, Keith and Livia, and we'll speak to you soon.